Hello, I'm Chris Solo, and welcome to the Fabled 42, where we build community through friendship, gaming, and chaos. This is Quests and Answers, where we go on a quest to find answers for you. Today we are talking about multi-classing within the realms of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and I have a very special guest here with me is Jordan.
Hello, everyone. Jordan Campbell, excited member of Fable 42. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and most of my socials, casual_Campbell, doing my best to inspire those until I expire. And I'm excited to be here talking with question and answers.
Very happy to have you here. I love multi-classing, and we all know you do as well. But before we get into like talking about the actual characters that we have multi-class and the brainchilds behind them
Mhm.
and why we've done that, let's go back to the why. Why? What are some pros and cons with actually multi-classing, and not like the super in-depth where you multi-class, but just a basic two classes kind of merging together? What are some of the pros and cons for doing that?
So the easiest one to start off with is the cons. The first easy con is you don't get to be the best at what you do.
Yep.
One of the key examples is you will not reach level 20 in a specific class, which is when you reach what's called the apex or the true form of your class. You don't get the ultimate rage, you don't get the final spell powers, so you're limited on the fact that you will never reach the pinnacle of one class. However, the pro side of it is, besides the RP mechanic of the fact that you are multi-classing, it gives you a lot of options and
Yep.
a lot of opportunities to do different things because you can be a little bit of one thing, but just in case you can cover other sides of a
Yeah.
coin. And there's a lot of versatility.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some, some classes, if you go 17 instead of 20, you don't lose a lot. However, if but when you look on the flip side of it early on, like if you are really min maxing or you're really trying to get all the ability score improvements that you can get or all the feats that you can get, depending on which classes you're going into, because not every class gets them at the same time. So
Yes.
if you do it right, you can actually get yourself an extra feat. But also sometimes, like what's a good example? Like barbarian, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When I played the multi class of a moon druid and a totem bear barbarian, which is a ridiculous combination, we started at level 8, so I it's a cheat, right? Because you don't have to
Yeah.
go through the pain of. Now, what do you do first? You take 5 levels of barbarian, so you get that second attack, and then do your 3 levels of moon druid, or do you do moon first and then you have to wait longer to get that second attack? So you push things off, or maybe you don't get to them. But yeah, it's a really fun mechanic that does, especially for role play. Like if you really want, I talked with Lizzie about bards, and like bards are really great utility, but
Yes.
you don't have a lot of offensive stuff. You take a couple levels in warlock, which is why bardlock is so damn popular.
It is. That
Then
Eldritch Blast allows you to
Eldritch
be
Blast,
offensive while you're a utility. So
level 20.
it's
Well, level 20 player with 1 level of warlock, you still get 4 beams, ladies and gentlemen. Like
and
it's
that is one of the greatest things ever. I always one of my key things I think about multi-classing is almost every multi-class blend. I will almost always consider at least one level in Warlock,
yeah.
just so I can get those 4 beams, just to make sure I cover my offensive side of things.
Yeah. And so we're gonna lead into like just that. So like choosing different classes, and then why only take 1 level versus taking 3 levels. Like I've gone around with that a lot, and I really like evocations too. So then I want to take 2 levels, but do I really want 2 levels? Or those evocations? Is Devil Sight really that good? Yes.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
it is.
There are other things, right? If you're really trying to be that cantrip person, then you take, you go 3, you take what the Book of Secrets or whatever, and you get
Yep.
cantrips, and then you take that other thing where you get more, like, so then you end up coming out with 7 cantrips, which is all utility and all situational, but yeah,
But there are infinite, so there's that benefit.
yeah,
I think one of the big things to consider when you're multi-classing is not just pick specific things you like, but pick specific things that interlock to one another
yes,
that allow them to stack. One example, just for the hell of it, is what's known as the coffee lock. The coffee lock
mm-hmm.
is a sorcerer and warlock blend, using the fact that a sorcerer can sacrifice spell slots to get sorcery points, and the fact that a warlock can regain spells on a short rest. One example is if you do the coffee lock, I believe it's the aspect of the moon by doing Shadow of the Tome, you don't ever have to actually sleep, which means you technically don't need to have to do the long rest.
Yeah.
So now you sacrifice your warlock spells to get sorcery points at every short rest, which gives you potentially a continuous flow of sorcery points to recharge your sorcerer spells. Yeah. And boom, you've got a coffee lock. Chugging the coffee to keep casting spells.
That's a great segue to talking about the combinations, right? So we've loosely talked about sorcerer and warlock combinations. Loosely talked about bard locks, which I've done it a few times. My first bard was a bard lock. He was a goblin bartender. His name was Styx. He was just a terrible human being, and the way that he would inspire people would be because he plays the bagpipes and he sings in the voice like this. And the idea is he inspires you to do whatever the hell he just asked you to do with his bardic inspiration, to do it quickly so then he would stop singing.
Yes.
So that's your motivation, is to get him to stop playing those damn bagpipes. But that's his shtick. And it was only a couple levels in Bard just for fun. And he's mostly a warlock because he needs to be able to hit stuff. Yeah. But what are some other really good combinations for multiclassing?
So my first multi-class, which was actually my second character ever when I played 5th edition, was a Ranger Bard.
Oh.
Because of the ultimate utility of the fact that I'm Bardic Inspiration, I can hunt any prey, I'm good at traveling. It made me truly the most utility-based because whether or not we're adventuring or fighting, I was buffing, debuffing between Hunter's Mark and Snare. I was total battlefield control. Yeah. Because technically a Bard plus a Ranger is almost a Druid.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my first multi-classes, and I loved it because I remember it was a half elf. It was a half elf female, and her whole focus was she used a quarterstaff as a weapon, and she was a dancer, and that was one of her bardic inspirations. Okay, she would perform a dance, but at the same time would carry a short bow. So I would do my bardic inspiration, put away plant the pole, then pull out my short bow, fire if I need to, Hunter's Mark, whatever, put the bow away, grab the staff, and start walking.
That's amazing. And I love the really just the versatile combinations. Right now, we talked a little earlier about my Moon Druid Totem Bear Barbarian thing, because even though you're a Moon Druid, you can choose to use to Wild Shape as a bonus action, but you could still do it as an action. So you go into combat as a Totem Bear Barbarian, you're resistant to everything but psychic.
Yes.
You rage. And then you shift into something that's resistant to everything that other than psychic. So then you're like a super tank, because now you have a giant HP pool of something that does okay damage, but it's enough to do crowd control depending on which creature you pick. And then you pop up, you're like, hey guys, I'm still a barbarian. Whack.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh shit, that it's just, I found myself actually being too good at that. So roleplay wise, I would pull myself out of the form. Because I'm doing really good damage. Because Jason let me be a dire bear, a changed dire bear.
That's a good.
Which is an awesome form. It has lots of HP, and his encounters weren't super combat heavy. So I wasn't really fighting much as a barbarian because I was rocking it as a dire bear. So there was a couple of times where I don't want to be a dire bear anymore. So I popped out a dire bear. So I just hit something with an axe because I just wanted to hit something with an axe. But It really, really works.
It does.
I love the combinations when combinations just really jive.
That one reminds me of another one that's really good that I've done. It is specifically 8 levels of Barbarian, 8 levels of Rogue, and then you go with the final 4 levels in Druid.
Okay.
So the benefit is you get the sneak attack, and however, the rage doesn't work because it's specifically strength based, but you can still rage to get your resistances while you're a bear totem, so then you're resistant to a lot of damage. You sneak around, use finesse, you get your sneak attack while having resistance and if you need to, you do wild shape real quick, do all that, lose your wild shape, and you still have your rage going on, and you sneak attack right after. It gives you a massive health pool while you're just going around doing massive sneak attack damage. And if you can't sneak, then you're like, all right, let me go full on fight. But that's why you go swashbuckler with that, and boom, you're getting sneak attack in a 1-on-1 duel while going in rage, resistant to damage, and you can go reckless, and you're not even worried about it because you can swashbuckle, step back your 30 feet, come back in if you need to.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I was trying to remember what Viago was in Mythical Melee, because he had 3 levels of champion, I think, and then
I believe so,
17 barbarian, and I think I got an extra feat out of it for some reason. Maybe I didn't.
I think you would have to at least gone 4 levels in fighter,
I
go
think, yeah.
champion to get the champion perks, and then you go barbarian rage. Because a lot of times, personally, why I think multi-class works is because as great as level 20 is, it's just a cap on what you could already do.
Yeah.
But if you multi-class somewhere else, you're not just capping, you're adding a new asset that you may not realize is necessary.
Yeah.
Like even if you go 19 levels of barbarian and go 1 warlock, as we say warlock, worst case scenario, if you can't run up at them, you just Eldritch Blast until they're in range, and then you rush them.
Yeah. You just wait. Come on.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
once you're within that my dash, I'm coming at you with the full force.
Yeah.
That's why 2 levels of rogue is really good, because you can always bonus action hide dash, and if you're a barbarian, you rage or like bonus action dash to cover a distance, so that way you can get there and you hit them. So you're not worried about not hitting something or something like that.
Yeah, God forbid you make that barbarian rogue like an Arakokra or something, where then you're flying.
So you're flying, raging, sneak attack, and
Javelining and all
yeah,
the
you just are relentless, and that's what makes multi-class amazing.
Yeah.
It says, hey, I'm really good at so many things at whatever situation. I may not be the best, but I can cover more ground.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about, you are the best until the party reaches level 20, and then you're still pretty damn good.
Don't
at
wrong,
that point. Yeah.
Like you're not the best spellcaster if there's another wizard that's at level 20. You're not the
Yeah.
best fighter if there's a fighter who went 20 with 4 attacks. But despite that, until they reach level 20, you're pretty much the best at any situation except for what they're great at.
Yeah.
Like your sneak attack won't be as good as a rogue, but you also have sneak attack, so you're kind of better than the barbarian if you need to be, because just in case you can sneak attack and up your damage.
No. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And like doing similar combinations like rogue, like rogue and fighter. And I know they're doing, like, Tasha's came out with some stuff to make ranger a little bit better, because like
It did.
a ranged rogue is kind of better than a ranger, you know, or a
was,
rogue
for the
fighter, or even just a dex-based fighter. Like I have four bow attacks. How many you got? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like Logan showed that when he was a samurai ranged fighter, because you get that 5th attack. And so like five ranged attacks. Like I'm sorry,
it's
I'm a
pretty
better
brutal.
ranger than you are, but like
It is.
But then doing like a rogue range deck, you know, a dex-based fighter, because then you get the sneak attack.
Yes.
And it's those things just stack. But I do want to get to more advanced multi-classing as well in this segment, and the person in question obviously would be Rex. So I know there are other extreme multi-classings where you just suck at certain things, but you're amazing at everything else.
Yeah.
So, like, what are some of the motivations for Rex specifically, or things to look out for if people are going to try to multi-class with more than just 2 classes?
So once you break, I think when you multi-class 2, you're doing what's called, you're buffing. You're buffering like a aspect that you feel like you could do better at. Once you go to 3, you're no longer doing a buffer, and now you're becoming what's called a specialist. Because once you've gone 3 classes, you won't be able to reach certain levels and certain things, because a splash of 1 won't do enough. You have to start balancing how many levels you do. And Rex is a great example, because Rex technically at core design is 4 classes. But that's because Rex is a very specific design, which is skill monkey.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of research to know what classes give what at what build. So for an example, when you're building a skill monkey, your first class should always be rogue, because rogue provides you the most amount of skills at start, and it has the first one to get expertise.
Yeah.
But that's also why the second and third and fourth levels all had to be barred, because I wanted College of Lore to get more skills and to get the additional expertise. But then you start going further into where I just gained Warlock, because you need at least 1 offensive ability. And like I said, splashing 1 level of Warlock goes a long way, because now I have Eldritch Blast, even though I have Bard in 1 Rogue level, so my sneak attack's 1d6, 3 Bard, which lets me do a little bit of Bardic Inspiration, and my Eldritch Blast. But once you go beyond that, you have to highlight specifically what your goals are.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, like, the next 4 levels are all designed to get the rest of my skills. If anyone wants to look at the skill, like Rex's current sheet, he is proficient in every skill except for 4, but because Jack of all trades, he's half proficient in those, has expertise in 4 skills, has, you know, Jack of all trades, applies to initiative rolls. It applies to almost anything that's not a saving throw.
Yeah.
So just off base, even with the lowest stats, my lowest stat, I believe, which I have a -2 in strength, my athletics is still +1.
Yeah. And understanding those mechanics, especially, when everyone's like watching and they're like, Rex isn't doing shit, Rex isn't doing shit. And I'm like, wait for it. Hold, hold. And then all of a sudden, boop, all of a sudden, here we are. There's a different thing there. So there's a lot of like role play and story reasons for motivations. And then now you've turned that corner and now it's where it starts to evolve. And
Yes.
then, yeah.
One of the biggest things that makes it hard to multi-class beyond two classes, and what a lot of people don't like, is that multi-classing more than two classes doesn't work until at least level 5, 6, or 7. It's not like, if you multi-class 2 levels in rogue and then you get 1 fighter, you're like, or 2 fighter, you're like, cool, I got my fighting spell, I got sneak attack, I got bonus. But when you start doing more than 3 or more, they, like, honestly, right now I have yet to gather a feat because none of my classes have reached level 4. And not even a spoiler, I won't be able to pick up an additional feat for an AS or an ASI until level 9 because of the multi-class build.
Of course.
Because you have to specifically
Yeah.
build to reach. There's like what's called a destination point too.
Yeah.
So you say at level 7, I've reached the core of what this class can do. So at level 7, Rex will be proficient in all skills. There won't be a single skill he's not proficient or at least half proficient in. Then beyond that, it's just buffing that ability further to be even greater. For like example, for Rex, where he's at now, if I were to just go rogue for the rest of this, by a level, I believe 16, I will get reliable talent as a level 14 rogue, which means if I roll anything less than a 9 or less, it's treated as a 10. With the fact that my lowest skill is a +6 at right now, by then, plus proficiency, plus expertise, I think my lowest skill will probably be a +8. Meaning, my lowest roll forever will be an 18.
Yep.
That's the lowest I can roll by level 16.
Yep.
And that's on
Sorry,
my worst
Dan.
skill. On my best skill, I think I did the math. My best skill will actually be, the minimum is a 26.
Yeah.
But that's because if you multi-class more than 3 or more, you have to figure out exactly when you reach what's called your apex. Like, what is your class about?
Yeah.
And then from there, you add in fluff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with the final moments, well, we have a few minutes, but are there other big combinations like what you're doing that are commonplace? Are there any other multi-class combinations other than like the polymath?
So besides the polymyth, which is, I coined the term because it's a know-it-all, you have a combination of barbarian rogue fighters. Actually, it's technically barbarian rogue plus anything else to buffer any extra zone. Sorcerer warlock plus any fighter or spellcaster. Because like if you combine Coffee Lock with a fighter class, you have a very strong martial adept because you're like, I constantly can recycle first level spells, and now I'm a fighter that can fight like crazy and cast a bunch of cure wounds. I can do all these other healings, and the combination of that is also a Bard Lock with Sorcerer does the same thing. Typically the best way to do it is at least 2 casters plus another something.
Yeah.
Or 2 hard melees plus a caster, and that's usually the main combinations. I will say very few people will ever multi-class with a cleric. Cleric multi-class only works if you want to be a caster and you want to get medium armor proficiency and still be able to cast spells.
Well, that's funny to say that because one of the other multi-classes that I did for a one-shot, and I think we're level 6 or 7, I can't remember. I feel like it was GW's game, but I can't remember. I was a 2 or 3 level artificer and like a 5 level wizard.
Oh, that's
my wizard had 19 AC. Come at me, bro! Like it was ridiculous. And he was like a tank, but he was a wizard, and it was because they use wizard spells anyway, so you're just getting more wizard stuff. So it was kind of a fun combination, and I want to dive into that a little bit more, but.
And I will say the worst combination ever for everyone that wants to know is never multi-class every class. I have done it. It just not only does it not work, there's too much to do, and there's not enough action economy to run it. Yeah. And I think that's the ultimate thing. Whenever you multi-class, consider action economy. Don't pick a class that needs the bonus action to do stuff with 3 classes to do it, because now you're choosing which class route you want to do.
You
want a class that can cover actions, and then it covers reactions, and then covers bonus actions, so that way you can maximize action economy.
I did have a fun character idea. This wasn't Castilius. Castilius was something different for Legends. But I did have another one where he had a multiple personality. And he was a changeling. and I was going to this would only really it's kind of what Lizzie is doing now with Nafako, kind of, but I would multi-class, and other than like skill ability checks, I'm not going to try to manage that. But as far as like how I play that character, he would not be good at a lot of things, but he would be good at some things, right? So like when each personality is attached to the class, so I would pick like 6 classes, and I would roll. And whatever popped up, then all of a sudden you have, Jacques the Barbarian or, Carlos the Wizard. And I wouldn't do any Barbarian stuff. I would only do the Wizard stuff, or I would only do the Barbarian stuff.
Yeah, that actually is a good design.
It's a fun design, but again, like we've talked about, you would suck. Like you're like a 3-level Barbarian in a, level 10 party, and like, that's not that great. Like
it's not.
But that's an RP. That's an RP thing. Yeah. But that's
it's important to know if you're going to be doing a lot of combat versus RP. There's min-maxing for RP purposes, which is what Rex is, and then there's RP for combat, which is like a rogue barbarian, and then there's exploration, which is a ranger bard and whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so with the final 30 seconds, what is your favorite multi-class and why? In 30 seconds.
It's going to be the Polymyth, what Rex is, because I can roll on any skill check, and I almost can never fail a DC unless I roll like a 4. And honestly, being a know-it-all, that's just perfect.
Well, thank you very much, Jordan. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on all socials at casual_Campbell, because I'm just keeping it casual, guys.
Amazing. Well, this is Quests and Answers, where we go on a quest to find the answers for you. If you liked what you watched, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you guys next time. I am Chris Solo. You can find me at DM Chris Solo on all the social medias, and we will see you guys later.